Slices of Sunshine, Watercolor Painting of Oranges by Heather Black. I chose to paint orange slices because I was drawn to the vibrancy of the warm colors of oranges, yellows, and reds, and visually showing bursts of juiciness. For this painting, I drew the outline of the orange slices in watercolor pencils. I tried this for the first time because I didn't want to have pencil lines. I used a yellow and orange watercolor pencils, and it worked out fabulously, and will definitely do this again. The watercolor pencils will soften with the application of water and will become the orange and not just stay as an outline. The colors I used in my palette were yellow ochre, Hansa yellow, lemon yellow, alizarin crimson, burnt sienna light, Mayan orange, and ultramarine blue. On the first layer on each of the orange pieces, I wet the paper with clear water and applied the first layer of paint to a watery consistency of yellow. This is the base layer to which the highlights will shine through all the layers by using the lifting technique. I study each piece of orange from the reference photo and become familiar with the intricate details of the fruit. The pith, the white spongy layer between the peel and the fruit segments, and I try to replicate that on the painting with the color, shape, and form. I also visualize the direction of light and shadow on the reference photo and keep that in mind while I am building the layers. Paint the first layer of each section, then move on to the next section and let the previous areas dry completely. The first layer is watery because I want the first layer to be soft, visually and light. And as the layers of each section progress, and the paint has more pigment and less water. This painting works from light tones to medium tones to darkest tones back to the lightest tones by lifting paint to show the juicy, shiny bits from the reflection of light. The orange peel is vibrant. I mix Mayan orange with my yellows until I get the right shade. In the light, the orange is brighter, and in the shadow, it is darker, and I add burnt Sierra light to darken the orange shade. For the orange slices in the shadow, I add alizarin crimson to deepen the color and put it in the shadow. And for the slices in the light, I use the yellow ochre with a hint of red and lemon yellow for the orange slice to be brighter. A hint of green is used by mixing alizarin blue with the yellow ochre to show the knife marks left in the pith and peel, like a serrated knife was used to slice the oranges. The table in which the slices are sitting on, I paint in a cool blue shade. And it brings the slices forward into the painting and pushes the surface of the table back. By the end of the painting, these areas will require 3 to 4 layers, which are to be let completely dry and then the color reapplied. Light glazes of color are used to build up the layers and adjust the tones, to deepen the colors and give the vibrance of the fruit. Trying to keep the transparency of seeing each section, inner structure of each section. The glazes are applied to very dry areas and then left to dry again. The peel of each slice and wedge of orange is built up to develop the thickness and give a three-dimensional effect. Each section of the slices has various shapes and forms, and the colors that are used are adjusted to replicate the beauty. This part takes time and patience and is the true meaning of what painting is all about: to bring a blank sheet of watercolor paper to life. The realism of the fruit is brought to life by the tiny details. And as the layers dry, I evaluate the picture to see if it is convincing to the eye and add the more details as they are required. On the top slice of orange, I use a pale, fleshy tone of yellow, alizarin crimson, and a spot of ultramarine blue to paint on the white pith between the outside peel and this section of fruit, so that the surface has dimension and texture, and add spots that I can see on the reference photo. And the same for the very center of the pith that holds this section of the oranges together. I use very watery mixes to suggest the details. I do not want to go too loud in color here, but enough to show texture. I build the overlap shadow from the wedge to the slice with a burnt Sierra light mix with yellow ochre. I want it to be a warm, soft shadow. I use a clean brush that has been dipped in clean water and lift the paint off in the areas where the light is shining on the fruit and dab a dry, clean paper towel to the painting to help lift the color and show the highlights from the first layers. This is a great effect of light and is the opposite of how you think it would be done. Some artists may apply white paint to give the light effect, and that is okay too. But for this one, I like the natural highlights recreated in the first layer to shine on top. I chose a deeper color orange from the palette that has dried with a bit of moisture to enforce some of the darker details in the fruit of the top slice. Just a clean brush with water, I soften edges that have dried with hard lines, and also correct shapes that I see that are a bit jagged. Another light glaze of yellow to put on the bottom slice to enhance the color, to sit on top of the layers, but not mix with the work previously done. Light touch of the brush to the paper. Lifting of paint to enhance the details of the section of the orange. Taking time to review the composition and taking the shadows darker by adding another layer, throwing all the fruit in the light forward. I turn the paper around to work on the darkest orange slice because it is easier to reach and to add detail. Lifting paint off the wedge to create the shine on the orange surface. This is a 14-hour painting that was painted in 1 to 2 time slots over a couple of weeks. The dimensions of the paper are 18 inches by 24 inches on Canson cold press 140-pound paper. It was a joy to bring these orange slices to life with a realistic impression exaggerated by size. I hope you enjoyed watching this video.